Hey, we're back with our quick Bible study, Top 10 Warriors in the Bible. This is our Top 10 series, and today we do Top 10 Warriors in the Bible. I hope you agree. Number 10, Abraham. That's right, Father Abraham. Many do not know that Abraham actually went to war. He took 300 men and went to war against a much larger army and won. So number 10 in our top 10 warriors is Abraham, Father Abraham. Number 9, Adino, one of David's mighty men. He killed 800 men in physical combat in one battle. In 2 Samuel 23, he is listed as the top general, the top warrior in David's army. Number 8, David's other general, Eleazar. He fought many men in one battle and slew several until his hand was stuck to the sword. He could not release his sword because of the extent of battle he was doing when he slew several of the Philistines he fought against. Number 7 is Gideon. And with only faith, a trumpet, and fire, he went out and did as God said and gave Israel a great victory, blowing a trumpet and calling out in the name of the Lord. Gideon, storming by faith the enemy's camp, the Midianites' camp, brought victory to Israel. Number 6, Jonathan. Yes, Jonathan, son of King Saul. Jonathan qualifies as one of our warriors of the Bible because with his armor bearer, just himself and his armor bearer, he launched an attack against the enemy of Israel. He went up against a troop, just himself and his armor bearer, and won victories. Number 5, Joshua, who took over after Moses' death. Joshua led the children of Israel into the promised land, and in so doing he had to lead them into many battles against places like Jericho, Ai, and other territories, fighting against the Canaanites, the many nations in the promised land. And Joshua showed tremendous bravery, tremendous strength, tremendous skill as a leader and a warrior, and brought the children of Israel into their new home, that promised land. Number 4, Samson was supernaturally enabled to be a warrior. He was not trained in combat, but was supernaturally enabled. The Bible says when the Spirit of the Lord came upon Samson, he would rise up and defeat his enemies. He slew many of the enemies of Israel and brought down a whole building on the top of many of the senior leaders of their enemies, and he killed himself in that effort, but he killed more of the enemies when he pushed the columns of a large structure, a large building. He pushed them down and brought the destruction of the leadership of the enemies of Israel. Samson. Number 3 is none other than David, in his great courage as a youngster, faced Goliath. he, with only that sling, as most of you would know that story, went up against a man who was trained in combat, filled with gear, having support of an armor bearer. But David went up against him and won. Following that, David would win many more combat missions along with his men when he was a sergeant, so to speak, in the Jewish army, the Israeli army. That's David coming in at number 3. Number 2, maybe unlikely, unthought of, but without wielding a sword, he led thousands of the armies of the enemies of Israel into captivity using the power of God. He went up against them with all bravery and all boldness and smote them with blindness and led them into the troops of Israel. The entire army of the enemy of Israel became subject to Israel. And finally, do you agree? Jesus Christ seems all a peaceful role, non-combating role, but in the spirit, brutal warfare. Brutal warfare. The Bible tells us in the New Testament that Jesus destroyed the works of the enemy, destroyed the devil by his submitting to Calvary's cross, going down into the place of the dead, into hell, and then being resurrected. Through death, he destroyed the one who had the keys to death. Jesus qualifies as the number 1 warrior in the Bible. Thanks for watching. This has been Top 10 Warriors in the Bible.